Hello, First Family. Todd here, and I'm with Travis, and I'm with RJ, two guys I work closely with. And this morning, we just want to come to you and share some ways that God has proven to be so faithful over this incredible year of 2020. In fact, a lot of folks have said 2020 could have been a year of 2020 vision, and it proved to be the opposite to them. But I actually think 2020 did clarify a lot of things for us, one of those being that God is faithful, and He's proven His faithfulness to us this year. And I just want to have a conversation with these guys about ways that God has proven that here at First Family. I want to talk about His faithfulness in our ministries, among our people, and in our finances. You know, Thanksgiving's just a few days away, and I do believe that as we think about God's faithfulness, that will prompt in us a thankfulness. Thankfulness always produces thankfulness. And so let's just begin. Travis, share some ways that you've seen God's faithfulness here in our body, especially in our ministries. You oversee a lot of our discipleship ministries. What are some ways you've seen God just really prove Himself?
Yeah, small groups is the backbone of our church. It's a staple of our church. And in a health pandemic, it's one of those things that is very difficult to do, is to continue to encourage community and to ask people to join together and to meet in homes and share their lives with one another. And so we've just seen our people be very faithful to what God has asked us to do, which is to live in community and to grow in community. And so as of today, we have right around 366 folks who regularly meet in a small group. And that's really great. Considering the health pandemic that we're in. And so I'm just so encouraged to see the faithfulness of our people, to say, God, this is what you've called us to do, to live in community, to love one another, to meet the needs of one another. Many of our small groups have adapted, and I'm really just proud of them to see how they've adapted to help their people stay safe but still have community. So we have 4 small groups that meet remotely over Zoom, and then several of our small groups are meeting remotely over Zoom or other means just for a while, just maybe hopefully as the health crisis calms down a little bit more. So they've done a great job of just figuring it out. Many have met outside in their driveways, so it allows social distancing. So I'm really encouraged that we have 366 people who are in small groups.
Yeah, were you concerned when we came back and then the fall approached, even about maybe leaders for small groups or how registrations would go? But it seems like you're saying you've been pleasantly surprised?
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought for sure it'd be harder to convince people that this is a priority, that we need to stay faithful to this. But our small group leaders have really done a great job stepping up. We've even had some small groups multiply already this fall in the middle of this chaos. So very excited about that.
And we never get to choose the fact that there are hurdles we have to deal with all the time. The question is, how will we deal with them? And I appreciate your leadership.
Yeah.
Helping our small group leaders remain faithful and careful. We've been saying that, since the beginning of March.
That's right.
Or maybe since the pandemic started in March.
Yep.
Be faithful but careful. And what you're saying is you've seen God's faithfulness in the lives of our leaders and groups who've been faithful.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then in 2020, we said we were really going to focus on marriages. And last month, we were able to continue and host our marriage retreat here in Des Moines. And we had just under 50 couples who were able to meet together to work on their marriages. And that, I think, was a great win for our couples who had the opportunity to get away a little bit.
Yeah, we were both there. That was a good retreat. And I think that's leaning into some things we're doing next year in a more intensive way, correct?
That's right. We're still trying to get the word out, but in 2021, we have 4 weekends for marriages, for couples to get away and to spend some dedicated time just focus on their marriage with Mike and Leanne Hartwig. And so that's on our website. You can find out more information about that, but we're providing those weekends in 2021 to strengthen marriages at First Family Church.
Yeah, that's great.
Another thing I'm just encouraged about is this fall we were able to see our children's ministry and our youth ministry get back to full capacity, completely open. And we've done that slowly. We've done that with time, and we've done it well in order to roll that out safely. But I'm just really excited to see our youth ministries booming, middle school on Wednesday night, high school on Sunday nights, and then children's ministry on Sunday morning and one on Wednesday night. And so we did it well. We did it slowly and carefully, but to be able to regather our children together and to be able to pour into them and disciple them is just a real encouragement.
And we've gone to 3 services here,
That's
so
right.
they had to make those adjustments, and they've made them well.
Work. That's right.
They've got ministries going on. And I think Jake even has moved some small groups to homes.
That's right.
And that didn't get railroaded because of the pandemic. So yeah, I think you're right. There's just a good sense of courageous faithfulness among our people for community, while also saying, let's just be careful. So I bet that is encouraging to you.
Yeah.
It's encouraging to me to hear.
Yeah, children's ministry and youth ministry staff are doing a great job.
Amen. Hope our church, I hope you're hearing that, and your confidence is even built up even more, and that your excitement, anticipation, in case you've not returned yet. Man, we just want to invite you back to a fully functioning community that values being together in the right sense, in the right way. While we're talking about groups and people, I'll go to finances next, RJ. But first, let me just mention this. We've seen some really neat signs of God's faithfulness among our people. Now, since we came back in late May, so we'll just say call it June, we've seen about 26, 27 new members, 13 folks baptized. And those are just kind of, objective markers. I think one of the neatest signs of God's faithfulness in our people is right now, we're averaging about 77% of our church is back in attendance from January and February. And so that's 3/4 are back. I'm really pleased with that. I don't know what the national average is per se, but my sense is that's a little higher perhaps. And it just shows me that our people value, like you said, community, God's word, the singing and collective worshiping. And so I see that in our people. RJ, tell us a bit about the giving of our people, their generosity. I think you've got some great news to share there too about God's faithfulness through that.
Yeah, absolutely, Todd. So for 2020, we've just had another amazing year financially. We're seeing just faithful, sacrificial giving from our people. In fact, through our first 3 quarters of 2020, we've had 3 of our 6 highest giving quarters that we've had in the history of First Family Church.
Not just weeks, but quarters.
Quarters, yeah. So we've actually had the 3rd, 5th, and 6th highest were our first, 2nd, and 3rd quarters. The only 2 quarters in our history that have been higher have been the 4th quarters of 2018 and 2019, which really bodes well for how we're going to finish the year here with our 4th quarter. In fact, again, the first 4 weeks of October, we actually had 2 of our highest 1-week offerings, 2 of the 3 highest 1-week offerings that we've had for 2020. So we've been doing really well through the year financially, just seeing people just working and giving faithfully and sacrificially to the church.
And let me interrupt you here to say that when the pandemic started, I believe our people really gave above and beyond for our benevolence areas.
Yeah.
We were able to give more away to people and to help
for
families and help situations, even from the derecho.
Yep. Yeah, we've seen a lot of growth in a lot of different areas. In fact, at the start of the pandemic, when there was so much uncertainty going on in the world, we started to go to work on how are we going to be, cutting our budget, and looking at, putting a plan in place to reducing expenses, because we figured there'd be a dip in our giving. But in fact, our churches responded so well that we actually had an uptick in giving. We were actually 5% above our expected offering during that time. So we've just seen a fantastic response from our congregation.
Yeah, very generous. And we want to thank you for your generosity in this time and letting us be able to be a conduit of resources.
Yeah, so with that response from our congregation, we've been able to kind of get a jump start on some things that we were planning to do here in the near future. We were able to do some updates to our facility. You've probably, if you can remember, the repainting of the student center, finishing of the game room up in the youth area. Your guys' offering has given us that opportunity to be able to address some expiration dates that we had on some things here and be able to update those now. And looking forward into 2021, we're also going to be able to do a lot of things with in the financial position that we're in. We're going to be able to do a number of different things. For one, as we've set our budget process out, we are going to be putting more money towards mobilization than we ever have at First Family Church. So
and when you say mobilization, that's kind of our word for missions.
Yep, missions,
local,
our partners.
Global.
Yep. And then for the second year in a row, we're going to be able to take $25,000 of budgeted funds and put it towards our debt with a principal payment. So we'll start to pay that down in a pretty rapid fashion that way.
Yeah. When you talk about finishing the game room, maybe we'll call it updating the student center. I think about Travis's words about bringing them back, and it's so humbling to think about our people's generosity and knowing that we have to kind of keep a building, up to speed and up to date and in good condition. It's good to hear about those ministries continue to dream and vision about ways to reach out and ways to disciple, and sometimes facilities are part of that. So that's just really good news to hear about things happening upstairs. You don't get a lot of vision when I say vision, visibility upstairs, do we? And yet things are happening up
They
there
are.
week in and week out.
Absolutely.
And it's good to hear about the progress, even financially and structurally up there. Yeah, anything else you guys want to share, maybe, or a question you might want to have and discuss about God's faithfulness to us in ministries or people or in finances through this year?
No, just so grateful for our people, their heart, and you can see a love for God and a willingness to obey,
Yeah, amen.
no matter what.
Yeah. One thing I can speak for in regards to Travis, myself, and RJ is this. We just want you to know that we are praying that God's faithfulness will continue to produce in you and in us fruitfulness. And so thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your commitment. And we look forward to the remainder of this year and also 21, in which we'll see God again being faithful so that we will be fruitful.